There are some things in business that you just need. There is not a question whether you should or should not have it. And one of those things is accounting software. And I'm telling you right now, if you're running a small business and you are still using spreadsheets or thinking about using spreadsheets, if you're going into business, you need good accounting software. And I don't care how big or how small you are, accounting software is vital to keep track of where you're going and what is happening in the business. So today's podcast is all about accounting software. We're going to talk about other apps that connect with accounting software, but basically how to make your numbers shine so that you can get good data out of them, you can make good decisions to thrive and make your business what it should be, amazing. If we're not growing, you're not growing. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. My name's Nathan Rigney, I'm the Profit Generator, and I am a CPA, I'm a profit first professional, and you know what? I'm all about staying healthy, fit, having a great life, but most importantly, the reason I do these podcasts is I want to share my knowledge with you guys so that you can have the business that you deserve, a business that serves you instead of you being a slave to that business. As I said in today's opening, there's a few things I'm going to be talking about. It's all about really great apps that are out there and great software that's out there for small business owners just like you. And where I really want to start today is I want to share a story with you. Just recently, a small business client came to me and she'd opened up a company and basically in a position where she was forced to go from a sole trader to a company because of the company she got a lot of work from. Where she's a contractor, she was forced to open a company. And previous to that, as a sole trader, she was using a spreadsheet. Now, the problem with spreadsheets is that, look, I don't mind a good spreadsheet being an accountant, and I think anyone who loves numbers or just really wants to analyze data loves spreadsheets. But the problem with spreadsheets is they can break. When data starts getting big and there's a lot in it, it's really hard to keep track of. But even for a small business, like you are reliant on your spreadsheets to do the numbers. And if you're not fantastic or really good at putting together really good spreadsheets, they can fall apart really quickly. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what size business you are, whether you're small, like you're an entrepreneur, or you've got 50 staff, accounting software is vital. Good accounting software, particularly I like Xero. I'm going to be honest here, I might get cancelled for this, but when I started my career, it was all about MYOB. When I started my business, it was all about Xero. It's still all about Xero. And for me, I've only concentrated on one program. I really haven't used MYOB or QuickBooks for so long. I can't tell you whether they're good or bad because all I concentrate on using is just Xero. And for me, when I started my practice 10 years ago, Xero was the best product that was out there. And in my opinion, look, maybe I don't know much about where MYOB or QuickBooks is, but you know what? There's a reason why Xero is the number one accounting package in Australia and New Zealand and across the world, is because it just is the best. Pretty much everything I'm talking about is all about Xero. And Xero really, it's the starting base for every business. No matter how much you hate or love numbers, you can't escape numbers. And it's like a vital organ of your business. Like your finances is a vital part of your business to survive. And like I said, whether you hate or love accounting or hate or love numbers, or maybe it makes you feel all jittery inside, or maybe it makes you feel nervous, you still need to know what your numbers are. You need a really good accounting software to make sure that you can analyze and see what's happening in your business. So for me, I recommend Xero as being that number one. So let's just start there. Xero for me is the hub of where everything starts with your business. And why I say it's the hub is because pretty much it's where the main information goes for your business when it comes to the finances. And from that, you can then start adding other apps and connecting other softwares that then connect into Xero, and they work seamlessly together and integrate together to then produce different results. Maybe you're running a cafe where it's got all your different food items and all that sort of stuff running through on an iPad. It connects to Xero. So you might run your sales through a different sales software, but then that connects to Xero and then gives you all the data as to where all your income and expenses are. But essentially, Xero is the starting point where all the apps connect in and share data with, and then get you that end result to help you make decisions. So you might have an app or a program that, you know, is more focused on one particular area of the business, and let's say, for example, that's sales or selling maybe food items if you're running a cafe or restaurant. And that data from that software will help you analyze what's going on there. But then that data still needs to come in to Xero, so then you guys can keep your ATO compliance up to date and just stay on track of where you are from a tax point of view, but then also help make other decisions in conjunction of using the different apps and Xero. So for most businesses, Xero starts at $35 per month, and then it works up to be a higher amount, and it depends on what you're using Xero for. Depending on how many staff you've got or what functions you need in Xero, that price can then steadily increase to $100 a month or more, depending on how many employees you have. But what I do like about Xero is that it's the central place where you're keeping all your numbers. So from Xero, you can lodge your BAS from there if you want to lodge your BAS yourself as the business owner. Or maybe you may have different people in the business that accesses different parts of the information. So you can give different employees different access to Xero. So if you've got an employee who only does sales, you can give them access to Xero where all they can do with that access is just produce sales invoices. Or your employees might have access just to see their own payroll, like every time you do a pay slip for them. So what I like about Xero is you can do your BAS from there, you can keep track of all your records. And if you are starting a business, and even if you are the only person in your company, you still need to do payroll. So you still need to pay yourself a salary and you still need to pay yourself super. Xero makes that job of paying yourself and keeping compliant with single touch payroll and then the super clearinghouse to actually pay your super. It helps you keep compliant so that you are ticking all the boxes, the right things you need to do with the ATO. But then it also is going to save you time and money down the track where you don't have to use other systems that are disjointed. So it's really all about keeping you track with really good information. But what I like as well is just being able to, at any point in time, as long as your Xero file is reconciled, be able to have a look at reports on even just something simple as a profit and loss on a balance sheet. But then Xero also goes that one step further where you can have analytical reports where you can dive deeper into what's happening in the business. The data, the analytical reports they have in Xero, they're quite simple. And if you like that, it's a great place to start as a starting point to get a little bit of a feel for analyzing the data in your Xero file. But if, say for example, you want to go a little bit further, you might look at something else like Sift or other programs that are out there to analyze your sales and your performance and just really have a look at tracking patterns or things that are happening so then you can determine what's going to happen in the future. Because if you know what's going to happen in the future, you can therefore basically maybe increase sales or maybe stop at something that's going to cost you a lot of money in the business. And really, if you can predetermine what's going to happen in the future, you can also increase profits and stay more profitable. It's an absolutely no-brainer that if you're starting a business or you are in business, that if you're using accounting software that is dysfunctional, it doesn't work, it's really slow. In my opinion, that was MYOB every day of the week. I don't know if it's improved or not, it might have. Or even using a spreadsheet. If you're using a spreadsheet, basically you just can't, at the touch of a button, press a profit and loss. You've got to go create that manually. So if you're using spreadsheets, you might be thinking, oh, I'm saving some money, but really in the long term, you're actually costing your business money because you can't analyze and see what's going on. You almost got a blindfold on your eyes and you can't see what's going on. So really, you've got to get past this idea of having to spend money on accounting software, but also look at when you're spending the money on the accounting software, the return or the value it brings and you being able to see where you're going. And honestly, if I go back to that client who was using spreadsheets and now we've converted her over to Xero, she's kicking herself for not having done it sooner. And the reality is as well is that like for her, it's not a great deal of money. It's $35. And in fact, last month, Xero always has really good deals to sign up. So if you're starting your business or maybe you're in the early phases of your business, Xero often has different discounts for the first 3, 4, 5 months, even sometimes 6 months I've seen, where 90% off the first 6 months. Really the first 6 months, whilst you're getting used to it, it can be actually quite cost effective. And then once you understand, you see the value of it all, it's going to start producing a lot more returns because you can use the program how to understand and get value from it. So the next thing that I think as well, like when you go further on from Xero, there are other programs that really connect quite well with it. And providing the key to especially keeping compliant with the ATO and staying on the right side there, but also keeping track records of what you've done in business. You don't want to be having endless folders of paperwork of every receipt or everything you've ever bought. We're not in 1998 anymore. We're not even in 2014, right? here we are, we're in 2025. You've got to get electronic with all your storing of documents. And the best way to do that is to basically use one or two different programs. So there's Hubdoc and there's Dext. And what these two programs basically do, they do the same thing. You can take a photo of a paper receipt, or you can email a PDF invoice, or even connect other companies where they send you invoices to go to Hubdoc or Dext. And then once those items are there in Dext or Hubdoc, it gets pushed over to Xero and it reads it as a bill. So as an example, if you were to have gone and spent $100 at BP, you could take a photo of that paper receipt and it will then go over to Dext or Hubdoc, read what's on the invoice, how much you spent, where it was BP, how much GST was in the purchase, send it to a bill into Xero, and then when you're doing your reconciliations, it's therefore going to match that $100 on your bank line item to the bill that's in Xero. Now, the best part about this here is that you need to keep records for the ATO if they ever come knocking on the door to basically check that all the expenses you got. So basically, you need to substantiate any expenses you've spent in your business to the ATO if they come knocking on the door and want to do an audit. Now, the reality is you want to keep records of what you spent money on. And there's been plenty of times I know in my business where I have spent money on big items and I actually go through my Xero file to try and find that particular bill and that invoice so then I can refer back and see what did that item cost me, when did I get it, and then it just helps me make decisions because I got that original paperwork there. But if I had it in a folder, the reality is I got to go through the folder, work out, well, when did I buy it? How am I even sorting all these different receipts? And then find that piece of paper. I might even get to the piece of paper, and I know if you get any receipts from like Big W, Woolworths, or even your petrol station, then they print, sometimes they print and they fade. So like you get those receipts, you might get to that in your folder and find that the receipt you've got or the invoice you got is faded. So, you know, you don't want to be in that position, right? You really want to get into the day and age of keeping records. And it doesn't have to be an absolute punish. AI is here to stay, right? You can set up rules and all this sort of stuff so it happens all seamlessly. Yes, there might be sometimes a little bit of effort to be put in place to it, but once you get used to it, it's just a quick 2 seconds and it's done. Now, Hubdoc, what I like about Hubdoc is it's free and it comes with your Xero subscription. So that's fantastic, right? So if you're starting out in business, hey, you know what? You don't need Dext because Dext is going to cost you about $40 a month. It starts at $40 a month, right? And now Dext is the better program out of the two. It reads receipts better. It's just better all around. You can't complain about free, especially when, you know, you're already paying for your Xero subscription. So if you're starting out in business, I suggest that Hubdoc is going to do the same thing. And you know what? It's going to keep you on top and on track with all of your expenses. So the next thing I would say is the most rewarding part of any business is getting money. Just like when Dr. Nick on The Simpsons, when Mr. Burns goes and gets that operation, he gets straightened out. It's the X-Files episode actually. And Dr. Nick, he straightens him all out. He's a doctor and he says the most rewarding part was when I got my money. But anyway, look, the most rewarding part is when you get paid. So it's one thing to go and do your invoicing and having all these beautiful systems that Xero provides. But I'm telling you, getting paid is what actually helps things actually happen in your business. If you don't get paid, you know what? It delays everything. And the reality is as well is that if you don't get paid, you can't then go and pay your suppliers, then you're gonna start paying interest on credit cards and whatever else, right? So the thing you wanna do in business is you wanna make getting paid as easy as possible. I've always thought that people don't have an issue. And most people that I've dealt with, they've never had an issue in paying me. It's not a problem like that. It's just that people get so busy in their life that they just don't have time to sit down and pay bills. So what I would suggest to you guys as business owners is you need to make that process of getting paid as easy as possible. Sure enough, maybe put on your invoice, your bank details. That's a given because how are you going to get paid today? No one's handing around 50s and 100s every time you hand out an invoice. It's not 1995. But the one thing you want to do is that it might be cheaper in the short term to get paid by EFT, but if you give people the options of getting paid easier, say for example having a Stripe account or a PayPal account attached to your invoice, so when your invoice sends out from Xero or whatever accounting package you're using, if you have attached to there a payment platform, a merchant system where, you know, your customer can pay you and you make that easy, you're going to get paid sooner, quicker. Now, sure enough, there is a merchant fee or a cost to do that, but if you factor that into your price, it's actually not going to cost you anything. It's just about reframing your mind and thinking about it differently. I think make the payment system as easy as possible. Now, there are other systems as well. Say, for example, if you are using something like Stripe or the many different payment platforms that are out there, you can also set up that you get permissions that when you invoice the client, that you automatically take off their credit card or their direct debit. Another program which works really well for the service-based businesses out there is Ignition. And Ignition is fantastic in that it does all of that. So you can put out a contract, what I would call in the accounting profession an engagement letter. But basically you can put together a contract basically saying all your terms and what you're selling the client. You can then get them to sign electronically, so therefore you have a contract. So if that payment doesn't happen, you have something to back yourself up onto what both parties, you and your customer, have agreed to. So that means that if you don't get paid, you will get paid later. But the second thing is having that platform of Ignition, a payment system, so that you can say that when the invoice is completed, it's then going to drag and drop that invoice into Xero, but then also it's going to collect the money for you. So when your client or your customer signs up to your agreement, you're going to ask for their payment details, whether that's maybe direct debit or a credit card. And when you do the invoice, you just set out the terms that after 1 or 2 days, they get notified, firstly, that the invoice is coming. They're going to get direct debited or basically money off their credit card for that invoice. Now, the great thing about that is you've now made that getting paid simplified. You made it easier. You've taken that step away from them. And because people have busy lives, you now can get paid sooner because the lifeblood of any business is cash flow. Now, sure, there is a little bit of a cost in operating a platform like that, but once again, reframe the way you think about it. If you cost it all in as part of your service, really, at the end of the day, there is no cost to it. So Ignition is another great platform, another app that then connects into Xero. So you can see how there's this whole eco-space of apps that can come in and basically start giving you better information, better data, so that then when you can analyze at the end of every month, have you hit your goals? Have you hit your targets? What is the profitability of the business? And all these things coming together, it gives you better data and you got better cash flow to run your business more efficiently. So I think I did touch on earlier as well, like when we talk about analyzing data, SIFT is a program that basically gives you detailed financial reports that analyzes the performance of your business. Now, I won't get too much into it, but I know that Xero just actually acquired SIFT and it's been around for quite some time. There are a stack of apps out there in the Xero marketplace, or even if you're using MYOB or QuickBooks, there's a whole lot of apps that are out there, whether they're specially designed for particular industries. There are apps that are just for hairdressers. There are apps just for engineers. Even there are apps just for us accountants. They're essentially, they are softwares that pretty much are always cloud-based solutions. And when I say cloud-based, it means that it's all online, that then serve a different purpose for your business. And the best part about it is that you can go to Xero and you can go to the app marketplace and they'll have from different users reports on how they've worked, what hasn't worked, and they'll have a star rating as well. So then before you go and invest that time and effort to implement that program in your business, you can have a little bit more understanding and have done a little bit more sort of due diligence to see whether it's going to work or not for your business. But, you know, what I would say is any business, you've got to have really good data. And starting with a really good accounting program like Xero, building out from there, making sure you understand how to use it as well. Get someone to show you how to use it, get some training on it. And that's something that we offer at NGR Accounting. We offer our clients training on how to use it so you can get the most out of it. But guys, the message today is it's really important to have really good software, really good accounting software, and really good programs that are specially designed for your business, your industry, to help get better information, to help you make better decisions. And when you start making better decisions, you will start naturally becoming more profitable. Guys, if you like today's podcast, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend. send it all out. I'd love for you to do that for me. I hope you liked it. Guys, we'll tune in next time. But hey, look, on our website, we do have quite a few different downloads for you on a lot of these different topics and a lot of source information to help you run your business better. Go and check it out, our NGR accounting website. And if you've got any questions, want to get in touch, just drop us a line and I'll be happy to chat to you. All right, till next time, guys. Have a good one.